Hello friends, in this video I'm going to have a discussion of third semester BA question paper March-April 2023 examination by Bangalore University, and the section A from the play. Answer any five of the following questions in 2 or 3 sentences. Question number 1: how does Philip prove that he is 25? Philip claims to have returned 25 when he was attempting to demonstrate to his uncle that he has matured sufficiently to live an independent life on his own. Uncle James is a symbolic character, constantly upholds the old values and social traditions. Is it true or false? This is true. What has the army not taught Philip according to Uncle James? According to Uncle James, Army has not taught Philip how to take decisions. Means to say, he has not learned decision-making skills. Then Philip served in the army for how many years? He has served in the army for 4 years. What was the business Uncle James doing? A jam business. Which generation Philip represents in the play The Boy Comes Home? Young generation. Philip represents young generation. Who is the protagonist of the drama The Boy Comes Home? Philip. Of course, Philip is the protagonist of the drama The Boy Comes Home. Now, you need to answer the two questions in one page. Each question is for 5 marks. From the play The Boy Comes Home. The play The Boy Comes Home is about the generation gap. Discuss. The playwright has cleverly depicted the conflict between the generations in society when two persons representing different generations are put together. Towards the end of the play, Uncle James is attempting to place Philip in employment, who believes that he should take charge and eliminate other choices that Philip may make, which indicates the persuasive role played by the older generation in suffocating the new dreams of the younger generation through economic and social morality powers and norms. We start to comprehend the opposing role played by both protagonists, who use their own power to force to contradict one another. Perhaps just as in Uncle James' dream, where Philip is willing to sacrifice another 4 years to study and become an architect, Philip's zeal to even go to the extent of losing another equal long 4 years to achieve his dreams is crushed by Uncle James' authoritarian weight, who wants him to start earning. Following the dream, the entire scene becomes ironic as Philip agrees to his uncle's wish and decides to join the jam production company owned by his uncle, thus crushing the young generation's dream of achieving what they have truly aspired for. Question number 2: comment on the title of the play The Boy Comes Home. The writer A. Milne was a journalist and became the editor of Punch at the age of 24. On the outbreak of war in 1914, he entered the army. In his leisure time, he used to write light-hearted comic one-act plays. The present one-act comedy is named as The Boy Comes Home. The title refers to a boy who has come back to his home after some years. After a few years, the boy happens to be a young British soldier. His name is Philip, who has been fighting in France. He's a young, promising boy with a strong and pleasant personality. He's 23 years old and has learned a lot from his experience in the war. His personality has become mature and he's unruffled by any sort of situation. His reaction to different situations and characters is quite impressive and self-assured. He comes home to find himself in a conflict with his guardian's strict personality and his unbending rules at home. The whole action revolves around the way in which he handles a discussion with his uncle. Amusingly, this discussion goes on as much in reality as in the dream of Uncle James. Uncle James' insecurity and the sense of incapability before a young man compel him enough that he readily accedes to the demands of his nephew. Question number three. What is the importance of the dream scene in the play The Boy Comes Home? Philip comes back to his uncle's home after a period of 4 years. There, he is received by the strict practices of his uncle's irrational rules. Philip's father has died, and Uncle James is his guardian. On the very first morning after his arrival, Uncle James wants to discuss Philip's future with him. Uncle is an old fashioned man and he holds orthodox views about treating young kids. He thinks that he can dictate Philip to do whatever he wants. He's a short statured man with an unimpressive physical appearance, but he has closed himself in the cocoon of sovereignty. His inner weakness collides with his outward severity, and this conflict induces him to dream a strange thing. His unconscious fear and insecurity make him view Philip as a rude and bullying boy who tries to get his demand fulfilled on the point of gun. His dream is full of violence and threats. He sees himself completely subjugated before the terrorization and use of weapons by his insolent nephew. He dreams Philip as a headstrong and impertinent guy who can go to any limit. The dream is so forceful that Uncle James is unable to know that it's not reality, but only a dream. Uncle is badly influenced by the dream, and when Philip talks to him in reality, he behaves in a very kind and considerate way to avoid the menacing situation of his dream. Uncle James' conscious and unconscious blend together to constitute his dream, and then it directs his consequent real attitude. We see that dream sequence ends the conflict between Philip and Uncle James. This dream sequence is a source of comedy. After the dream, Uncle James repeats the same words as Philip has spoken in his dream. Now, the part 3, this for 10 marks. You need to attempt one question. Question number 1. Discuss the play The Boy Comes Home as an anti-war comedy. The Boy Comes Home, written by A. Millen, is a genuinely humorous and satirical play with a cleverly constructed plot and skillful characteristic. It's a light comedy about a young man, Philip, who returns from France after fighting in the World War II. The play explores the generation gap between Philip, who represents the new generation, and his guardian, Uncle James, who represents the older generation. Philip, who is now a mature and changed person after serving in the army, wants to live a life of freedom and independence, while Uncle James wants him to follow the old values of obedience and respect for others. Uncle James desires that Philip join his business, while Philip wants to be an architect. After Dream Scene, Uncle James becomes a changed person and develops a healthy relationship with Philip. The play highlights the conflict between tradition and modernity and emphasizes the importance of finding a balance between the two. The play throws light on the generation gap. The old generation thinks that the young generation is immature, just like a schoolboy. It should obey the old generation. In fact, the young generation is mature and it can take the right decisions. Philip is a young boy of 23 years age, young man. He lives with Uncle James, who is his patron. He has returned after 4 years of war. On the way, First morning he comes for breakfast at 10. Uncle James keeps a strict discipline in the house. According to his orders, breakfast is served at 8 a.m. Phillips has a row with Mrs. Higgins because of this. She threatens to leave the job if she's asked to prepare breakfast at 10 o'clock. Philip handles her in a very clear and clever way. The first conflict between Philip and Uncle James is that Philip does not like his Uncle James' authoritative attitude and his strict discipline in the house. When we read the play The Boy Comes Home carefully, we find the authoritative attitude of Uncle James. He treats Philip as an inexperienced schoolboy. He thinks that he will decide everything for Philip. He wants to use his authority as a patron. Aunt Emily asked him to let Philip decide his career, but he wanted Philip to be clear of his decision. Philip wanted the money left by his father to learn a profession. Uncle James does not want to give him the money till he's 25. Philip does not like this attitude. Uncle James tells Philip that he will use the power of purse if he does not submit the to his order. Then Philip uses the power of revolver and bomb. He frightens Uncle James to death, and he is now ready to do whatever Philip wants. Uncle James waits for Philip to ask him to join his jam business. However, just before Philip's entry into the room, he dozens off. In his dream, he meets with Philip. He orders him to join the jam business. Philip also wants to learn some profession. Uncle James thinks that he's just like a schoolboy as he cannot choose a career for himself. The dream sequence has great importance in the play. The boy comes home has a for a number of reasons. The first and the most important reason is that in normal life, it looks very awkward and immoral for a nephew to aim a revolver at his uncle and to make him kneel down and beg for his life. So the writer has used a dream sequence to present this awkward and immoral situation. He makes the reader believe that all this has happened in a dream and it should not be taken seriously. Secondly, the dream sequence ends the conflict between Philip and Uncle James when we see that after his dream, Uncle James is a new man. Now there exists no conflict between them. He's now he's now a reasonable man. Now he understands the problems of the young generation. Thirdly, the dream sequence is a source of comedy. To prove that he's mature, Philip relates his experience that Somme was a battlefront where Philip's company would launch an attack the next day. They were entrenched. The Germans knew about them. Therefore, they were firing. The company commander wanted to move from that place. He consulted his commanding officer. The officer ordered them to stay there and wait until the next day. Later, the Germans killed the company commander. After his death, Philip became the new company commander. He knew something about scouting too. Therefore, he found another trench. They had lost about half the company by the time. Now, Philip had three options. First, he might stay there and wait until the next day. Second, he might move to another trench against orders. Third, he might go back himself and explain the situation to the commanding officer. It was very difficult situation. Lives of many soldiers dependent on his decision. He moved from the company to the another trench. Then he went back to the officer and told him that he had moved. After that, he went back to the company. The war has greatly affected Philip's personality. The words spoken by Aunt Emily are very important and meaningful. She says to Uncle James, excuse me, she says to Uncle James, well, I think that Philip's 4 years out, they have made him more of a man. He doesn't seem somehow like a boy who can be told what to do. I'm sure they have taught him something. She further says, "You will find him different." Before going to the war, Philip was an inexperienced boy. Now he's a grown up man. Before going to the war, he used to do what he was asked to do. Now he makes his own decision. Nobody can dictate to him. The army has taught him something. He's different now. He has learned how to handle the people. He's also learned to use power against power. Uncle James threatens to use the power of purse, but suddenly Philip takes out a revolver and levels at him. Uncle James tells him that it's not fair to settle arguments by force. In the meanwhile, Uncle James wakes up. He's now a changed man. When Philip actually comes to talk to him, he is rather confused and repeats the same thing that he had said in his dream. Philip at once agreed to join the jam business. Uncle James is not sure about his dream. At the end of the play, Uncle James' condition creates a lot of comedy when he laughs with a forced heartiness. The relief expressed by Philip about the ending of war brings home the idea that war makes everyone miserable. The soldiers, the common people, and the others suffer equally. Question number two. Describe the detail the boy comes home as a comic play. The Boy Comes Home is a light comedy. Firstly, we find comic elements as the start of the play. At the beginning of the play, Philip comes down for breakfast at 10 or 10 o'clock, whereas the breakfast is served at 8. Philip asks Mary, the parlor maid, to bring breakfast. She tries to frighten him, says, "I'm sure I don't know what Mrs. Higgins will say." She starts repeating the sentence. This sentence creates a lot of humor. Mrs. Higgins comes and shows her anger. However, Philip handles her so artfully that she has to tell a lie to save a job. She says, "Who said anything about going?" There's a great difference between how she comes and goes. This situation is very funny and makes us laugh. Secondly, Uncle James tells about his sacrifice in a very funny way. He says that he has done his part for the country by giving his nephew to the country, by suffering the shortage of potatoes, and by paying the excess profit tax. His claims are very funny. Thirdly, in the dream sequence, Philip talks about choosing a career. He says, "If I'm 4 years behind, so is everybody else." After the dream, Uncle James repeats the same words. He says, "Well, if you're 4 years behind, so is everybody else." This is really funny. At the end of the play, Uncle James' condition creates a lot of comedy when he laughs with a forced heartiness. Philip says about the strict manager, "Perhaps I would better bring my revolver." At this, Uncle James says, "Ha ha, a good joke that, ha ha ha, a good joke, and only a joke, of course." Therefore, the play is full of comic elements. Question number three. How does Philip prove himself as a mature and responsible man in the play? Philip is the hero of the play. He has recently come back from the war front. He's a well built young man of 23 with a pleasant, assertive personality. His parents have died and he lives with his uncle James. His relations with his uncle have always been problematic, though. He's a boy of pleasant manners. He treats Mary and his aunt in a very polite manner. He tells his aunt that she has always been his darling, and he talks to her about his experiences in army. He has strong ability to take a decision in any crisis. When he's denied breakfast, he quickly responds and handles the situation in a commanding way. He's not confused or worried. He simply decides to dismiss the cook who is not ready to work. He's not vindictive either because either because when Mrs. Higgins is ready to make the breakfast, He doesn't create any problem and repeats his order of breakfast. His personality has two facets. One is his real personality, while the other has been concocted by his uncle's imagination. In his uncle's dream, he appears to be an insolent boy who doesn't recognize any authority. He breaks the rules and doesn't care about his elders. He wants to be an architect and can defend his intention with many arguments. He compels his uncle forcefully to agree with his demands. He points loaded revolver at his defenseless uncle and frightens him to an extent that Uncle James goes on his knees asking for mercy. He even produces a bomb out of his pocket and threatens to throw it on his uncle if he is not reasonable in his attitude. He settles the dispute through power, but this is not his true personality. In reality, his uncle finds him much sensible. He only wants not to salute someone or wear a uniform, otherwise, he is ready to do anything. The haughty and boorish Philip is only a bodgy created by his uncle's imagination. The reality is completely different. Overall, Philip's character is strong and convincing. It wins at the end because he represents the advancing time that always wins. Uncle James is a very successful businessman who has been making pots of money even in the wartime. He is not physically an impressive man. He has a straggly grey beard that doesn't hide and chin of any great power, but he has severity that passes for strength which is weak with the weak. He is orthodox and strict in his rules. He has decided times for meals even, and nobody can get anything to eat after the appointed times. Due to his rule, Philip has to face a lot of troubles at his very first morning in his time in his home. Philip proves himself a mature and responsible man to Aunt Emily by handling Mrs. Higgins and to Uncle James by relating the incident of Some. Philip handles Mrs. Higgins, the cook, so successfully that when she leaves, she's speechless. Aunt Emily is very much impressed and tells Uncle James, "Well, I think that Philip, for years and out, they have been made him more of men." This shows that this shows that is quite convinced that Philip is mature and responsible. Uncle James is not ready to give Philip the money left by his father until he is 25. He thinks that Philip is just like a schoolboy. To prove that he is mature enough, Philip relates the event that took place at Somme during the war. It happened that Philip's company was in trench. The German knew about them. The Germans killed the company commander. After his death, now Philip was the company commander. They had lost about half the company by that time it was a very difficult situation, and he had great responsibility on his shoulders. Lives of many soldiers dependent on him. He took a very mature and responsible decision. He moved the company to the other trench. Then he went back to the CO, the commanding officer, and told him that he had moved. Uncle James appreciated him and said, "I'm glad that you did well out there. I'm sure you, Colonel, would speak kindly of you." The words spoken by Uncle James show that Philip has proved himself mature and way responsible very successfully. So now we are end of the play. Now we are moving to the next speeches. So we need to attempt any two questions. Question number one: how did Gandhi's Quit India speech pave way for India's independence? Within 24 hours of making Gandhi's speech, the British government arrested Gandhiji along with several other Congress leaders, imprisoned with his wife Kasturba in the Aga Khan Palace in Pune. Gandhiji fasted for 21 days in protest. Kasturba was suffering from bronchitis and even had several heart attacks under imprisonment. She died in 1944. And just a month before Gandhiji was finally released, even as the leaders were imprisoned, Indians took to the streets the next day on August 9, 1942, started the Quit India movement. What is Abdul Kalam's three vision for India? The speech delivered by former President of India Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam on 25th May 2011 at IIT Hyderabad, India. Dr. Kalam mentions three visions for India. He says that in 3000 years of our history, people from all over the world have come and invaded us and captured our lands, conquered our minds. From Alexander onwards, the Greeks, the Turks, the Mughals, the Portuguese, the British, the French, the Dutch, all of them came and looted us, took over what was ours. Yet, we have not done this to any other nation. The first vision is freedom. Dr. Kalam says that we have not conquered anyone, we have not grabbed the land, the culture, the history, and try to enforce a way of life on them because we respect the freedom of others. Hence, his first vision is that of freedom. He believes that India got its first vision of this in 1857 when we started the War of Independence. It is this freedom that we must protect and nurture and build on. If we are not free, no one will respect us. Second vision, development. Speaking on his second vision, Dr. Kalam further mentions that we have 10% growth rate in most areas, our poverty levels are falling, our achievements are being globally recognized today, yet we lack the self-confidence to see ourselves as a developed nation, the self-reliant and self-assured. So he mentioned his second vision for India as development. He says that for 50 years we have been developing nation. We have been a developing nation. It's time we see ourselves as a developed nation. We are among top 5 nations in the world in terms of GDP. Third vision, India must stand up to the world. Further, Dr. Kalam mentions the third vision for India, and it's this is India must stand up to the world. He believes that unless India stands up to the world, no one will respect us. Only strength respects strength. We must be strong, not only as a military power, but also as an economic power. Both must go hand in hand. Dr. Kalam feels lucky to have worked with three great minds: Dr. Vikram Sarabhai of Department of Space, Professor Satish Dhawan, who succeeded on him, Dr. Braham Prakash, father of nuclear material. He considers this the great opportunity of his life. Now, the question number three: how is untouchability not only worse than slavery, but positively cruel as compared to slavery? According to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, untouchability has none of the three advantages of the unfree social order mentioned. The untouchable has no entry in the higher arts of civilization and no way open to life of culture. He must only sweep. He must do nothing else. Untouchability carries no security as to livelihood. None from the Hindus is responsible for the feeding, housing, clothing of the untouchable. The health of the untouchable is the care of nobody. Indeed, the death of the untouchable is regarded as a good riddance. There is Hindu proverb which says, "The untouchable is dead, and the fear of pollution has vanished." On the other hand, untouchability has all the disadvantages of a free social order. In a free social order, the responsibility for survival in the struggle for existence lies on the individual. The responsibility is one of the greatest disadvantages of a free social order. This is a responsibility. Whether an individual is able to carry out this responsibility depends upon fair start, equal opportunity, and sequence deal. The untouchable, while he is a free individual, had neither fair start nor equal opportunity, nor square deal. From this point of view, untouchability is not only worse than slavery, but is positively cruel as compared to slavery. In slavery, the master has the obligation to find out work for the slave. In a system of 4 hours, in a system of free labor, workers have to compete with other workers for obtaining work. In this scramble for work, what chances has the untouchable for a fair deal? To put it shortly, in this competition, with the scales always weighing against to be fired, untouchability is cruelty as compared to slavery, because through because it throws light on the untouchable, the responsibility for maintaining himself fully without opening to him fully all the ways of earning a living. So this is how what we have discussed. Question paper for 40 marks. Now we have workbook for 20 marks. And the first question we have here, presentation slides. Question for 5 marks. So here you need to read the passage, and based on the passage you have to prepare the slides. So there's a passage here about New Year and birthdays. Let me go through the passage. In China, people eat 8, 10, or 12 dishes of the world of the food at New Year. This is because an even number means double the luck. A lot of food at the New Year has a special meaning. Seaweed means good luck, and no, and long noodles mean long life. They eat whole vegetables and don't use knives to cut things because this means the end of your good luck. In Russia, there's lots of food on the table, so the next year will be happy and plentiful. At 11:59 people open champagne, wait for the clock to strike 12, then they make a toast for the new year. They wish everybody good luck and happiness. In Spain, people eat 12 grapes, one with each chime of the clock at midnight. This brings good luck for the next 12 months. But it is difficult to eat 12 grapes in 12 seconds, so people usually have a mouthful of grapes at the end. When a child is born in China, the father gives red egg to his friends and family, an even number for a girl, an odd number for a boy. The birthday party started in Europe in the Middle Ages. People were afraid of ghosts and bad spirits on the birthdays. Friends and family came to visit you with the presents to stop them. In Mexico, people f- people fill a paper animal with sweets. Children close their eyes and hit the animal until the sweets fall out. Then everybody eats the sweets. So you need to read the passage. Now you need to prepare the slides. So I have made the slides like this. Slide one, number one, topic presented by. Slide number 2, New Year in China. Slide number 3, New Year in Russia. Slide number 4, New Year in Spain. And slide number 5, birthday in China. Slide number 6, birthday in Europe. And slide number 7, thank you. So you can also draw some picture if you would like to draw, or you can make the slides more elegant and more like some sort of decoration you can give. Next, draft demonstrative presentation on how to open a saving bank account. First, you try to understand what is the meaning of demonstrative. It means to say you are going to get demo. Demo means you are going to speak in the stepwise, step 1, 2, 3, 4. So the question is here, topic, how to open a saving bank account. Slide 2, visit your nearest branch. So you can draw the image of the bank. Slide 3, fill up account opening form, submit KYC documents, passport size photographs, signed check, and thank you. So possibly try to draw the pictures to represent the content so that you can get good marks. Now, in option to this question, you have another question. Okay, this is a compulsory question. As we know, you have two presentation. One is demonstrative and one is like a persuasive presentation. Next, answer any one of the following questions. So this is about the paragraph writing or the paragraph writing. Now you need to write a paragraph about Mr. Trivedi, who is a soft skill trainer, based on the given hints. So these are the hints, and you can write the paragraph about Trivedi using the appropriate linkers and this description should be without any grammatical error. You can go through the screen about Mr. Trivedi. You have one more option here. uh, Write the event description like celebration of freshers day in your college. You can use those hints are on your screen, and the answer you can write out the freshers day, how was it celebrated, who was the chief guest, who was the guest of honor, and what happened, how is it important. So you try to make use of the hints given on your question paper. So that's going to help you a lot to construct a passage or a paragraph. Next question you have here, there's one more question in an option that's called comparative paragraph. Like we have question here, indoor games versus outdoor games. So obviously you need to tell about both, and then finally you need to give a comparison which is better or which is quite more affordable. So like this you have paragraph writing for 5 marks. Next we are moving here, you need to yeah next we are moving towards the letter writing. You have the different letters, and out of the three letters you need to attempt only one letter. So we have a question here, this for 5 marks. You had purchased a mobile phone from a reputed showroom in Mumbai, but after a month it developed a serious fault. Write a complaint letter to the manager of the showroom asking for the immediate replacement of the same. So try to use the left margin format. So sender's address, you can see here Manish, Vijayanagar, Bangalore. Date, you can look at the date format. Then who is the receiver? The sales manager, ZB Mobi Company. Salutation, dear sir, madam. Subject, complaint regarding the phone received dated. Then body of the letter, I had purchased a cell phone, a number so and so with 34,000, and it went on well for the first week. Later it was found that it used to get switched off after each 40 minutes. It may be due to the low battery quality. As per the warranty card, you need to give free service. I kindly request you to replace the phone immediately. Thanks, you're truly Manish. So this is how you're going to draft the letter. So you have one more letter here. As the head of the music department of Army Public School, Indiranagar, Army Public School, um, Indiranagar, Bangalore, write a letter of order to Mysore Music Association, placing an order of instruments. So it's a letter of order. So again, same sender's address, date, who is the receiver, salutation, subject, and the body of the letter. Whenever you write the order letter, it's better to mention the quality, the quantity and quality, and what number do you require the particular. Secondly, you also mention that on which date do you require it and how the payment will be done. So you can go through the answer. Last question in the letter writing, because you three letters are given, and out of the three letters you need to opt one. And this question is again an inquiry, letter of inquiry. You are Rahul, a resident of number 11 and our colony, Bangalore, student of 12, and want to take up summer course in computer graphic design. Write a letter of inquiry to the director now. So Rahul, address 10th March, director NIT Computech, Chamrajpet, and subject inquiry for the graphic design course. And you mentioned the body of the letter, as my 12th standard examination is over and I'm looking for a summer course in computer graphic design. Your advertisement for this course has appealed me. To inquire for this, I would like to know the course content, eligibility, fee, timings, and future scope. Though I have visited your website, it does not give me full information. I kindly request you to mail the brochure or the course content. Thank you. Yours faithfully, Rahul. Now, the last question here for 5 marks, advertisement or brochure. So draft a commercial advertisement for the inauguration of sports club. So I have borrowed this picture from Google. So you can also draw the picture in such a manner. Whenever we are going to write the inauguration or any advertisement, we do mention the place, time, and the theme, and which who is the host, and try to draw some picture. You can look at this advertisement. Now, in option to this, you have here design a poster for health mela on promotion of good health and hygiene. So similar to this, you can make here health mela, date organized by whom, in association with Rotary Club, or any kind of special attractions or special features. You can mention registration on spot, who is the contact person. Last question. So out of these three options, advertisement, um, or just now we have seen here the poster, and now we have brochure. So, so you need to design a travel brochure including the details of destination, hotel services, price, accommodation, etc. So again, I have drawn this image from Google. So like this, you need to draw the image and you need to write the answer. And I have already pasted the links of each and every chapter of your third semester BA. All the chapters, videos, links are in your description box. If you want to go in detail, you can go to the description box and you can learn more about each and every topic, including the workbook. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you very good luck for the examination. Thank you once again. Dear friends, thank you so much for watching this video. You can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Please do subscribe the channel, click on the like button for more videos on literature, workbook, pronunciation, grammar, communication skills, presentation skills, interview skills. Stay in tune with Mukesh English. Thank you once again.